Today we are going back in time to play the actual recorded words of early 20th century U.S. presidents, voices that are rarely heard by many people, from Theodore Roosevelt to Woodrow Wilson. Today we will be focusing on the 1912 presidential campaign. Get ready for a journey through sound and sight today on Generations Found. Today we are going to start with Theodore Roosevelt, a man famous for his speeches. This speech was recorded in 1912 as a campaign speech. The speech itself is entitled "The Right of the People to Rule." Roosevelt cautions against political extremes of the right and left. The recording is marked as Victor Talking Machine 1912, and the Holding Institute is titled Vincent Voice Library. Roosevelt delivered this speech as a major address on March 20th, 1912 at Carnegie Hall in New York City. The speech itself became a core theme of his 1912 Progressive Bull Moose Party campaign. He drew heavily upon this speech's core argument and used the title across dozens of stump speeches and campaign stops nationwide. Let's listen in to Teddy's powerful, captivating voice.
The great fundamental issue now before our people can be stated briefly. It is, are the American people fit to govern themselves, to rule themselves, to control themselves? I believe they are. My opponents do not. I believe in the right of the people to rule. I believe that the majority of the plain people of the United States will, day in and day out, make fewer mistakes in governing themselves than any smaller class or body of men, no matter what their training, will make in trying to govern them. I believe again that the American people are as a whole capable of self-control and of learning by their mistakes. Our opponents pay lip loyalty to this doctrine, but they show their real beliefs by the way in which they champion every device to make the nominal rule of the people a sham. I am not leading this fight as a matter of aesthetic pleasure. I am leading because somebody must lead, or else the fight would not be made at all. I prefer to work with moderate, with rational conservatives, provided only that they do in good faith strive forward toward the light. But when they halt and turn their backs to the light, sit with the scorners on the seats of reaction, then I must part company with them. We, the people, cannot turn back. Our aim must be steady, wise progress. It would be well if our people would study the history of a sister republic. All the woes of France for a century and a quarter have been due to the folly of her people in splitting into the two camps of unreasonable conservatism and unreasonable radicalism. Had pre-revolutionary France listened to men like Turgot and backed them up, all would have gone well. But the beneficiaries of privilege, the Bourbon reactionaries, the short-sighted ultra-conservatives, turned down Turgot and then found that instead of him they had obtained Robespierre. They gained 20 years' freedom from all restraint and reform at the cost of the whirlwind of the Red Terror, and in their turn the unbridled extremists of the terror induced a blind reaction. And so, with convulsion and oscillation from one extreme to another, with alternations of violent radicalism and violent Bourbonism, the French people went through misery toward a shattered goal. May we profit by the experiences of our brother Republicans across the water and go forward steadily, avoiding all wild extremes. And may our ultra-conservatives remember that the rule of the Bourbons brought on the revolution. And may our would-be revolutionaries remember that no Bourbon was ever such a dangerous enemy of the people and of freedom as the professed friend of both Robespierre. There is no danger of a revolution in this country, but there is grave discontent and unrest, and in order to remove them there is need of all the wisdom and probity and deep-seated faith in and purpose to uplift humanity we have at our command. Friends, our task as Americans is to strive for social and industrial justice achieved through the genuine rule of the people. This is our end, our purpose. The methods for achieving the end are merely expedients, to be finally accepted or rejected according as actual experience shows that they work well or ill. But in our hearts we must have this lofty purpose, and we must strive for it in all earnestness and sincerity, or our work will come to nothing. In order to succeed, we need leaders of inspired idealism, leaders to whom are granted great visions, who dream greatly and strive to make their dreams come true, who can kindle the people with the fire from their own burning souls. The leader, for the time being, whoever he may be, is but an instrument to be used until broken and then to be cast aside. And if he is worth his salt, he will care no more when he is broken than a soldier cares where he is sent, where his life is forfeit, in order that the victory may be won. In the long fight for righteousness, the watchword for all of us is spend and be spent.
We were just listening to a 1912 campaign speech from Theodore Roosevelt. During this 1912 presidential campaign, Theodore Roosevelt ran against Democratic nominee Woodrow Wilson and incumbent Republican President William Howard Taft. Roosevelt, entering the race, created a historical three-way contest that famously divided the Republican vote and handed the presidency to Wilson. During this campaign, Taft was president. He recorded this campaign speech titled On Popular Unrest in October 1912 at a recording studio in New York using a wax cylinder. He frequently delivered the content of this popular speech to live audiences. He famously gave the speech as his official address accepting the Republican presidential nomination in the summer of 1912. The Library of Congress has preserved some of these historical wax cylinder recordings, making it one of the earliest known instances of an incumbent president preserving a stump speech via sound technology for mass distribution. Let's listen in to incumbent Republican President William Howard Taft's campaign speech.
We are living in an age in which, by exaggeration of the defects of our present condition, by false charges of responsibility for it against individuals and classes, by holding up to the feverish imagination of the less fortunate and the discontented the possibilities of a millennium, a condition of popular unrest has been produced. New parties are being formed with the proposed purpose of satisfying this unrest by promising a panacea. Insofar as inequality of condition can be lessened and equality of opportunity can be promoted by improvement of our educational system, the betterment of the laws to ensure the quick administration of justice, and by the prevention of the acquisition of privilege without just compensation, insofar as the adoption of the legislation above recited and laws of a similar character may aid the less fortunate in their struggle with the hardships of life, all are in sympathy with a continued effort to remedy injustice and to aid the weak. And I venture to say that there's no national administration in which more real steps of such progress have been taken than in the present one. But insofar as the propaganda for the satisfaction of unrest involves the promise of a millennium, a condition in which the rich are to be made reasonably poor and the poor reasonably rich by law, we are chasing a phantom. We are holding out to those whose unrest we fear a prospect and a dream, a vision of the impossible. After we have changed all the governmental machinery so as to permit instantaneous expression of the people in constitutional amendments, in statutes, and in recall of public agents, what then? Votes are not bread, constitutional amendments are not work, referendums do not pay rent or furnish houses, recalls do not furnish clothing, initiatives do not supply employment or relieve inequalities of condition or of opportunity. We still ought to have set before us the definite plans to bring on complete equality of opportunity and to abolish hardship and evil for humanity. We listened for them in vain.
As mentioned, Woodrow Wilson won the 1912 presidential election as the Democratic nominee. He secured a massive victory in the Electoral College, benefiting from a severely divided Republican vote. He captured 435 electoral votes overall. He ran on a platform called New Freedom, which targeted what was called Triple Wall of Privilege. He focused on tariff reduction, bank reform, and stricter antitrust regulations. The speech we will be listening to was titled The Third Party. Wilson gave this campaign speech in New York on September 24, 1912, in which he talks about the new Progressive Party and criticizes Theodore Roosevelt and his methods of supporting the small businessmen. The speech we will be listening to was not a public stump, but in a recording studio in New York City. He recorded the address into a phonograph for the Victor Talking Machine Company. This was one of 6 short political speeches Wilson made that day. By the way, I have been using the term stump speech quite a bit. Just in case you don't know what that is, a stump speech is a candidate's go-to, standardized political speech delivered repeatedly on the campaign trail. So let's listen in to Wilson's stump speech.
There is a new party which it is difficult to characterize because it is made up of several elements. As I see it, it is made up of 3 elements in particular. The first consists of those Republicans whose consciences and whose stomachs could not stand what the regular Republicans were doing. Added to this element are a great many men and women of noble character and of elevated purpose, who believe that this combination of forces may in the future bring them out on a plane where they can accomplish those things which their hearts have so long desired. I have no word of criticism for them. Then there is a third element in the new party, of which the less said the better. To discuss it would be interesting, only if I could mention names, and I have forbidden myself that indulgence. We have in this party 2 things, a political party and a body of social reformers. Mr. Roosevelt puts forth an admirable platform of what he would like to do for the people. But how is he going to do it? He proposes in his platform not to abolish monopoly, but to take it under the legal protection of the government and to regulate it. In other words, to take the very men into partnership who have been making it impossible to carry out these great programs by which all of us wish to help the people. It is perfectly idle to talk of doing things when your hands are tied for you, so long as the men who now control the industry of the country continue to control it. Now, we don't want to disturb the industry of the country. We are not here to destroy the industry which these men have built up, but we are here to destroy the control over the industry of other people which these men have established, and which makes it impossible that we should give ourselves a free hand in the service of the people. There are 2 programs. The Democratic program is this: to see to it that competition is so regulated that the big fellow cannot put the little fellow out of business. For he has been putting the little fellow out of business for the last half generation. The program of the third party is to take these big fellows that have been putting the little fellow out of business and regulate them, saying that is all right, you have put the other fellows out of business, but we are not going to put the little fellows back where you destroy them. We are going to adopt you and say, run the business of the country, but run it in the way we tell you to run it. The only thing you have to choose between, therefore, is this. Are you going to have fresh brains injected into the business of this country, and the best men win, or are you going to make the present combination permanent?
We hope you enjoyed the historical pictures, footage, and sound recordings of the historical presidential race of 1912. We invite you to join Generations Found in our deep dives into the archives to bring you generations of interesting, forgotten, and hidden treasures. And always remember to be kind in everything you do, even the comments you make. Make it a great day, my friends.